Hello and welcome to another episode of Scott Schilling Speaks. I'm your host, Scott Schilling. Got a longtime friend with us here today. She's a best-selling author, an inspirational speaker, a documentary producer, almost said manufacturer. How does that work? And a movie producer, and more importantly, the founder of Heroes for Humanity. Laurel Barrett, thanks for joining us here at Scott Schilling Speaks.
Thank you, Scott. I absolutely appreciate being here today so much. And as always, I honor everything that you're doing because you're making such a big difference. And you've helped me so many times. And I'm just grateful that you asked me to be here today.
Well, I appreciate that. So I know
but here's not, but
you're here. That's the way it works. The good news is I still have some.
This is
The
Me too.
I know I know that you're down interviewing some major folks for the Heroes for Humanity Awards. Share a little bit what that's all about.
Well, I know this is a long time ago, and I think this is kind of when we met, so it kind of dates us. But I went through an epiphany at a point in my life and sat down and wrote this manual. And the manual was called A Hero in You. Then it was about these universal laws that we could do, or what we could do to awaken to our own inner greatness. And it kind of started just as like a personal journey or a personal project where I started going around to just different places to feel like maybe there was something more in my life or more that I can do. And it culminated with an idea called Heroes for Humanity. And I didn't really think at the time what that really meant. I just meant that in the world we were here to make a difference, not only in our lives, but maybe in the lives of others. And so I started doing a series of interviews, and this was almost, 20 years ago. And my mentor was, it's not super exciting to be part of a big media conglomeration now, but then was the president of Cox Enterprises. And he said, I think we're on the side of the angels. And he was the former president, excuse me. And so he kind of stood by our side as we started going out and collecting interviews and stories. Many of them were in print, or some of them were in video. And I remember one time going into a meeting I had here, and it was somebody that had literally made over $1 billion in network security and building gaming and virtual worlds. And we sat down to do an interview. And I remember him saying to me, don't come in here with an audio anymore. I mean, you need to bring in the real thing. So we started a collaboration between myself and a studio in Dallas with Trent DiGiulio, and literally have had people, as you know, you've been there multiple times and been part of the interviews, come into the studio and share with us what a hero means for them. And it could be what is success, what is love, how do we empower our lives? It could go all the way back to some of these things. And so as this came about in the very beginning, I realized that, we were kind of all in our human form, that we wanted to look at what were the qualities of a hero. During that time, I also was inundated. I'm telling you, inundated with people wanting to share their stories of their loved ones and different people that meant that to them. So we went out and captured some big interviews. We like Jane Goodall or Wayne Dyer, and you were there when we were with Fabrizio Mancini. And we started, literally, he was one of the first award recipients when we were producing Parker Seminar's 50th anniversary back then. And it's gone on to a series of different entrepreneurs and people that have made a difference. And this was something that we really started with, an idea that I came up with and just bootstrapped with a few of my friends. And it started, more friends started telling more friends. And I really believe it's an idea whose time has come. In the past, we created an idea that there's other people that have taken business and run with their ideas for what their award show would be. But I think in this day, what it means is that each and every one of us has a hero, not only within us, but other people that inspire us and that empower us and that we want to say thank you to. And so I've reached out to you and said, this is a time. I can't sit back any longer. We should really honor those that are so incredible and made a big difference in our lives. And let's go ahead and, say thank you, give them an award, and give them recognition for the impact that they've made, because I think we're in a time unparalleled to anything. And remember, it all comes back to gratitude and thank you. If we're saying thank you for this, we're only creating opportunities for more success. In fact, we talked a little bit about Les Brown and me being in Atlanta and potential possibilities. Well, years ago, I interviewed Les, and he was just so incredibly inspiring. But I just saw him do something the other day on I think it was LinkedIn, where he was saying thank you to Kyle Wilson. And it was so inspiring to me to listen to that. And I thought, this is something we need to do. Like, we really, really need to do this. So I guess that's where we are. We're coming back with, how do we recognize, how do we honor, how do we create a process? You and I talked about doing a big awards gala and dinner, a little
Right.
bit. We toned it down a little bit because of where we are, with the things that are going around the country, which, have to work itself out. But there are ways through current technology, like you have access to and I have access to, that we can create some incredible tributes, honor, interviews, and be able to start sharing that with people at home. So we don't have to wait to be able to go to a ballroom. And that's kind of what I got the message from, very loud and clear: start your interviews and we'll figure out where we get them. Just go back to it. And literally, we have thousands of interviews of people. And the best way to do that would be to put that both into a documentary, a film, these concepts and principles in the new book that we have coming out, a Hero in You. And I say that because all of these voices matter. And if we can come up with a collective way that we can take just a little bit in tributes of people that are doing awesome things, and it doesn't have to be, a famous person. It could be your mother, it can be your father. I mean, it could be your brother, sister, next door neighbor, somebody just that does something out of the ordinary or extraordinary that they didn't have to do. And it takes a hero right now. It really takes a lot of courage in this world right now to be here. So
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that fact. I think that, your mom and dad could definitely be heroes and guiding forces in your life. I think as you know, my platform is really to return respect, honor, and dignity to the planet, however we can accomplish that. And I think one of the things that, obviously, if we lift people up with an award recognizing their contributions to humanity in what they've done. Les is a friend, and he's been on Scott Schilling Speaks, and then I've been on his show in the not too distant past, and it was just really amazing to be able to have the conversation that many people don't get the chance to hear. Right? It's two
right.
guys who have done many events together out on the road, but not necessarily the stuff we say on stage, but the stuff that gets said backstage. And the good that people are working to do. So I'm all for supporting. How do we lift people up by saying thank you? Pretty simple process, right?
Yeah, and so we've been looking at things like letters to heroes, to be able to share that with someone putting together certificates, awards. Not just where I'm giving it, because what was overwhelming before in the past is I would get these epic stories that would come to me, and then I literally needed a television station. That's why I became such friends with Trent DiGiulio and working with the production houses in Dallas, is because I would literally be sitting down and they'd be like, "What stories do you have that have come in?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I just heard a guy that was on Mount Everest and he just saved somebody's life. And the guy was dangling over the edge of a cliff, and they had left him for dead, and they had taken off all of his clothing, and he was naked, dangling off a cliff." And I literally had somebody call me, and I said, "What network did you see this on?" And they said, "Oh no, it's my boss." And I go, "Where's your boss?" And he goes, "On Everest." And I'm like, "Well, can you get him on the phone with me?" And so literally he was in base camp calling me. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. This needs to go to somebody else. But maybe this is my purpose. Maybe this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But I can say it became overwhelming when all of these stories came in. And I think today, with the opportunity to be able to integrate, and that's why I'm looking for various platforms or syndicators or partners or things that we can do together. But to be able to get these to the greatest level of that we can, that's again why we decided to do. I never intended to be an award winning documentary film producer. I just was burned out and I had a health condition And I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but I was like, I got to get out of Dallas. And I ended up going over to Italy and started working with a friend of mine on a film called The Nature of Existence, and then went to 6 continents, interviewing everyone from, from India. They went all the way to China, but literally 400 hours of footage. And part of my situation is I got to ask people, well, what does a hero mean to you? And what does love mean to you? And what does success mean to you? And while we were, reaching other topics of why do we exist, it really gave me a greater and broader depth. A lot of times you can say, well, you can be flippant about, well, Joseph Campbell had his moments in being a hero and discussing his prototype for the hero. I became, after this, believing that people were born with this innate greatness, that inside them, that they could, if they could just remember what they had and who they are, that they could do things, that they didn't have to be in that model that said they were a bumbling idiot before they met their mentor, because you never know if you're meeting the right mentor. And if you can really tap into maybe the source of God or yourself and really listen to what's happening and remember that you have this. So that's kind of what it is when we talk about the hero in you, heroes for humanity, how that all became born. It was I guess, a process. It was, well, let's just honor some people for being heroes, and it was all about them. But then in the human condition, many people fail. One of the early days, it was all about Lance Armstrong, being a hero, or these different people being a hero. And, humans have, issues. And so today we have a whole new set of heroes, and we have a whole new set of villains. And some of the people that we think were heroes may just turn out to be villains. And some of the people that were villains may just turn out to be heroes. So it's a very interesting time that we have to kind of keep it on the qualities and what have they done and how do they do that. Maybe not so much about hero worship. So that's kind of what I believe this is about. It's not necessarily saying I worship you for what you're doing and you're so great, but more about you have excelled at doing something, whether it's you've taken time out to, I don't care, drive a I go out sometimes, how do you say this? And this, it's not my lane, but I've had different people in my life that have dealt with addiction. And I feel extremely grateful that has not been my path in this life. But I will go out there and try to get them with a hero that is their lane. And so sometimes we're seeing that we're able to help people literally move. And sometimes today, people are so sensitive. I mean, it's we're being bombarded with information that's almost on overload. And just to stop and say, hey, you're my hero, thank you for doing that for me, or doing something for somebody that makes them feel and remember, oh, I am a good person, I have been able to do that. I mean, sometimes I even forget what I've ever been able to, like, why am I here? you know
Well, I think a big part of that is, as you said, it's not to worship them per se. It's really to honor them and their achievements and or what they've done to contribute. And you know, there's so many people that I used to say in one of the talks that I did that a 5-year-old could mentor a 10-year-old because they have a different knowledge base and different framework, and then the 10-year-old could mentor the 5-year-old as well, right? I mean, we all have this innate ability to contribute to one another if we take the time to sit and listen and then make a decision that we choose to do something that could be beneficial to that other person. It really doesn't take that much necessarily, but there's some people who seem to be really good at it and do it over and over and over again that certainly deserve the honor of an award.
And, Scott, as you know, we all being entrepreneurs, I think I took it on to try to learn what is ethics, what is the right thing to do, how do you do this, what is the right thing done in the right way, especially, when you're an entrepreneur, you're out there. And I remember when I was doing an ethics class at SMU, and I was the speaker, and I was thinking, wow, that's wild. You know what I mean? Like, I went to SMU, but I would never imagine that this content is so relevant. And so I do think, and then, as for me, I moved from that content to the success model, success commandments. What are these universal underlying laws that allow us to awaken the hero? And I almost got to the point where I thought, this hero thing, is so basic. I mean, everybody's going to be like, okay, I was the first one came out with nominate your hero. It wasn't around. We came up with it. We came up with honoring people. We came up with the awards. We came up with other things. And there have been a lot of verticals that have just taken a lot off of that, or taken business plans, or done whatever it was, that I kind of was like, hey, let me go run with the success game and kind of go down that path and go for some of the epic interviews and find the universal laws underneath what does one do to be successful. But what I have to say right now is there's just such a correlation between the two. And I'm really grateful that you've brought me here today, because I keep wanting to push the hero thing to the back, and it just keeps coming to the forefront. And so I think it's time, or it's such a time as this, we need to do something now and go out there and share it. So I'm just here hearing it's my commitment to come back out and start rolling in with the interviews, not only about what does success mean to you, what do heroes mean to you, but also finding ways that just anybody can honor it. It doesn't have to go through my own portal to get there. We're looking for the ways that, that people can be able to go and create a lot of nominations and heroes and sharing the stories in different platforms and format. The way that I know I can help the most is just going out and start to talk to the people that you and I know that most people won't ever have a chance to get to.
Well, I
And
think, again, I think it's, if you can get the conversation top of mind, right? That somebody said, huh, I never really thought about honoring this person, and I never really thought about doing it at that level. Boy, that would be a great idea. And if we can get more people, again, it's about putting gratefulness and thanks and that true gratitude that you've contributed to my life. I was talking to a friend yesterday about how it's really not that hard to change somebody's state and to put them in a better mood. Just be in a better mood yourself and be happy as you do it, right? And so that's why I really like the Heroes for Humanity, from the standpoint of really keeping it top of mind and going, you know what, gosh, there's so many amazing people on this planet that have done so many great things. They deserve to be honored. They deserve to be lifted up.
And in addition to that, not just, but I want people to be able to learn to recognize those things within them. So as the time we're honoring them, we also in the platform will roll hero talk, where we bring in you and other people that to me have something to really contribute and say. Maybe it's through a virtual summit, or hopefully, God willing, we can go back to the live venue like we talked about. And we were planning in Dallas, Texas in 2021 in the spring, where we not only have the awards dinner, but we have, the Success Virtual Summit, the Hero Talk, and where we bring people in so that entrepreneurs, especially that's kind of more my lane, is the
Right.
entrepreneurs. And I think, we talk about Texas. There's a lot of really great things happening in Texas, whether it happens to be, there's a lot of really forward thinking happening in Texas. And before, especially in this kind of media, it was LA. But I really think that we're seeing that movement back, and I feel great, like to have great producers and studios and the ability to do events and places. So it's going to be exciting. I think 2021 is going to be really exciting. But we're always, when we do these interviews too, it's not just about thank you so much for the gratitude, which we always will, and we'll find a way to say thank you. But it's also about getting the content and the real story, that somebody hears that message and then they're able to say apply that to their own lives, right? Because we hear a lot of people talking at people, but I think what we're able to do is craft these stories where that people can assign to it, and that's a big task. But I think with the state of, especially in the United States, we have such a problem with unemployment. We have people that are coming into this new entrepreneurial situation. I mean, I've been doing it for over 30 years, being an entrepreneur, whether it be real estate, whether it be direct sales, whether it be author, speaker, producer, all that other stuff. But that all formed out of one set of skills that I personally believe would allow people to be successful almost in anything they did. Oh, I want to be in direct sales. Okay, great. Let's get with a mentor. Let's get with a hero. Let's get with a leader. Let's find what resonates with you and let's move in that. Oh, I think I want to be in real estate. Well, that would be incredible. There's some really great opportunity. Oh, I think I want residual income right now. Okay. And I think it starts, like you said, is if we can align with some of these great mentors and minds that to me exemplify awakening that Christ, God, gift, hero, that those gifts within, and identifying what those are key elements. Not, gratitude, of course, one, thanksgiving, another one too, but it's also taking action. It's also being, the illustrious warriors sometimes, which, for a woman is kind of difficult, but you just got to forge through it and make it happen. And, just being persistent. You know me, I've been persistent. Like half the time I'll go like, oh, and then I'll be like, Scott, can you come over and let's redefine our mission statement? Why? Because we know the power of two is greater than the power of one. And we know when we start bringing one or two or more people to it, and that will start bringing the energy back into it. This particular brand has a tremendous amount of energy because of the lives that have literally, my mentor died saying this was one of the most important things he had ever done. And we flew, to the funeral on the G5, and other executives didn't even go because it was important to him. And I have other people that have stood by me when I knew nothing about technology. The best technology people would show up and start doing scope documents for me, or take me out and help me finish business plans. Now, so I've kind of got a really well balanced PhD kind of in this, where I just, went to college. But I mean, in this dynamic, I think I've progressed a lot as how to be really, I was trained to be the CEO of this kind of organization. But I really don't have a problem going back in and just getting, just doing the stuff that works. And I'm just going back right now to do the stuff that works. Let's talk to the greatest minds that are here. Let's have them share with us, and then let's figure out how to do some things. Like, we have some really cool ideas. Of course, I'm never short of ideas, right? But this one I think is a really good one, is that every single person that's ever interviewed over the 20 years, every single release that sat down with me to say thank you, we're going to put together some kind of, I don't know if the word is a collage, I'm sure I'll come think, but then be better, but almost put this together that will go in the film, so that every single voice will come together, whether this is a miniseries, documentary, film, NFT, which we're deciding right now. But the most important thing is those voices all show up, almost like a Beeple piece of art, right? I don't know if you've heard of NFTs, and this guy that just sold it, but they had 5,000 images in it, but they were like still images. Well, I mean, we can create those where these images are really talking. They can also have a voice. And so I have these, I think that this is going to be super important to not only say thank you, like, thank you, hey, you're in this. I want to say thank you for sitting down with us. Hey, I want to thank you. By the way, I don't know if you remember when you did that interview with us years ago, that's sitting on hard drives. And we have like terabytes of hard drives. So this is really exciting. It's really exciting to go back through it. I mean, to see the old media, it's crazy.
Well, that's one of the things. I was honored to be part of the Jim Rohn um, tribute video prior to Jim's passing. And it was Kyle Wilson did an amazing job of wanting to put everybody together in advance, as opposed to making it post. Jim was very sick, and his passing was fairly imminent, but we got to all thank him and relate to him, whether it be a favorite story or something that he accomplished. And I remember Kyle saying after the fact, after Jim was presented with this tribute video and everything, of just how it touched him, realizing how many people he touched.
Right.
Right. And so that's why, again, I mean, I think it's a shame that this doesn't happen more often. In other words, that the tributes and the thank yous and the whatever, because there's so many people that have touched so many lives. I think one of the things that the pandemic is doing, or has done, is kind of knock people out of their status quo of, this is the way we were doing it. And so we were so busy, we were stuck in our car for 4 hours a day going to and from an office. Now, yeah, no, we're not doing that anymore. And all of a sudden they have time and they can actually think about being grateful and really think about how people have helped them move forward in their careers. So again, I mean, I congratulate you on the process and the wanting to do it again in such a big way, and going back to the past and pulling some of that up, because I think it's going to be really fun to see some of those interviews too.
Well, it's really crazy because if you think about it, like before it was hard to monetize, right? You had to go with a producer, they had to like it. And a lot of this stuff has to do with things that we're very attached to. Like how do you create, how do you create energy into a mission? You and I have sat down literally in the studio and said, we're going to empower 1 billion people's lives. I didn't say alone. I brought you in there. You didn't say 1 million. You upped it to 1 billion. And I was like, okay. And I started with 1 million, that was 20 years ago, but I guess it's more viral and we could do that. And um, so I don't mean to get lost in this, but it's just, I guess for me, it's just an incredible time to be able to put together, and the creativity that's coming out with the new technology is epic. And some of the stuff that we have can be monetized that never could be monetized before. I mean, we have footage and interviews and all this other huge media that to continue with this, that I can self monetize this. Like I can literally put together a film, put together a white paper, talk about how this film is going to work, do some trailers, come together and literally bring people in to join me. And I think it's because people have learned about crowdfunding or being an associate producer on a film, or I want to join that because I just want to contribute $100 and I want to make sure that my voice is in that NFT that's going to go out. So we haven't even thought about how to monetize, but I can tell you this, with the new technology and the new hot things that are happening, like tickets for our event, we're going to do very cutting edge so that they'll be in NFTs so they can be collectibles, different speakers that are coming out, which I'll talk to you about, that we can do that. And aligning with this production with one of the largest digital animation houses that has been doing it for over 40 years. And I don't know if you know, but I created this whole side to my business. As I started going out and doing things, people say, well, would you do that for me? And so that's when I created Success Empowerment Entertainment, so that we had the NFTs, the branding, the filming, what we did for Heroes, the production side. And a lot of times I was funded just by people saying, okay, that's cool, I want to do that. So that kind of kept my little choo-choo train going. Behind the scenes was mostly me coming in with a team of experts saying, okay, let me help you build, this is what you would do for the digital platform or the learning management or your training materials or these other things. So, for me to be able to do this, and with this experience I've had, but also feel like this is the first time that I can almost be independent in how we can monetize some of these things if we're super creative and we do it the right
Yeah.
way, is really almost, how do I explain this? It's liberating. I mean, it is. It's incredibly liberating. And I don't have, and there's, one thing that you and I've done, and I believe this about us, we've never compromised, in my
Right.
opinion. We've had a lot of offers. We've had a lot of things that we could do. We have a lot of content. I mean, I have 450 hours of footage that we shot in 6 continents. I've got, how many thousands of terabytes do we have right now of interviews, including Les, including others? But I don't feel like just running it on the television screen with him on there without talking to him. It would be a disservice. So this is why we want to go back to every person we've talked to and say, thank you. Here's what we've done. Would you like to be involved with what we're going to do? So that's the next phase, but we're really not disclosing that right now. All we can say is that there'll be a show that you'll be a part of, hopefully with me in the fall, in the spring. There'll be a epic hero talk where these big people come in, help entrepreneurs. I mean, state of Texas, incredible situation right now with unemployment. These jobs probably aren't jumping back. So we
Yeah.
probably have to re-educate somebody on how to be like us, which is scary, but we've survived.
Jump into the entrepreneurial
We
pool.
made
Don't
it.
worry, it's deep.
Somehow we're still here.
Exactly. So how can people get a hold of you and get you some information on some heroes as well?
Hopefully this, I've heard my development team has worked this out on Heroes for Humanity TV. There should be a place that you can nominate your hero. I will double check that, but since this is going out, you can also reach out to me, Laurel at laurelbarrett.com. I believe that on the Heroes for Humanity website, it's my personal number. And yeah, we definitely are where they can do story submissions, video submissions, give me links to who's important to you, and it's going to work. We're just honestly, I'm not, this is me, I'm not super happy with the massive platform we have. I really need to go in there and make it bigger, but that's me. Just start somewhere. But look, I have a history and track record in this. The very first time we started this, Scott, the first person that told me about this was Christianity.com ran our story. And I had a series of writers, as you know, and editors and producers. It was all self-funded, and they were writing stories. So we have over 1,000 stories that we wrote about heroes at that time for over 5 years, which were magazine format. And but those a million, it went out to the Christianity.com was the first one
That's
that
awesome.
went out. Nice. And then the second time, I remember we went and we spoke in front of Primerica. I didn't even know it was 50,000 people in an audience giving away an award to Bill and Sarah Stewart. Bill started an orphanage in India, and he's just incredible. And he didn't know the award was coming. I don't know if people knew why I was on the stage, but Charles Glover and myself in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Georgia Dome at the time, to over 55,000 people, gave away that award to Bill and Sarah. And that went on their POS system, which was their network marketing, their direct selling communication system at the time. And I remember being at the Super Bowl doing something there, and we had like almost 5,000 submissions coming in. So I know what this does. I don't think but we, so I don't think that will happen out of this interview, but I know what we can do with this. And I know how you and I together can really, if you want to with me, impact billions of people's lives.
Exactly. Well, thank you for being here today. Thank you all for joining us with Scott Schilling Speaks. We'll see you again tomorrow, exact same time. God bless.
Have a great day. Thanks for joining.